When I was back in college, oh, hi, Bones. Hi, Bones. Bones. It's Bones. When I was back in college, um, taking an earth science class, a wise guy student tried to get the teacher and says, "Why do we have to learn rocks? What's up with rocks? Rocks are boring. They're just rocks. They lie on the ground. They don't do anything." And the professor looked at the student and said, "Without rocks, there are no plants. Without plants, there are no people. Without people, who cares about the rocks?" And to this day, that saying has always stayed with me. Okay. Rocks are very important to study, guys, because we have to know what makes up the earth so we know how to live on the earth and we know how to take care of ourselves. So I just wanted to share that little story with you. And Bones, Bones has heard it a couple times before, but I thought it was really cool. So here we go. Let's talk about rocks. Okay. Our Earth's crust, we've been talking about this, the lithosphere, is made up of rocks. And rocks are natural stony materials composed of what, Bones? What makes up rocks again? That's right, minerals. Minerals make up rocks. And rocks are cool because they actually show the characteristic. They show characteristics about how they were formed. Okay, so how they formed actually causes them to look the way they do, which is pretty cool. And there's three kinds of rocks. Three. Okay, there are sedimentary rocks, metamorphic rocks, and igneous rocks. And the cool thing about these is they can actually change. They can change into each other. All right, so we're going to take a look at what are sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous rocks, and how do they change back and forth. It's wild. All right, so here we go. Igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are cool. Igneous rocks are lava rocks. Okay, they are the rocks that harden due to lava cooling. So we talked about magma coming out of the Earth's crust. Okay, coming out of the Earth's mantle through the Earth's crust, erupting in volcanoes and then cooling and hardening, lava cooling and hardening. Okay, and what happens is we get these cool looking igneous rocks. Now, one of the characteristics of an igneous rock are crystals. Okay, very cool. If the rock hardens very slowly, okay, you get these large crystals that form. So you can see in this picture here, there's large crystals that formed, okay, when this lava cools into a rock because it allows more time for the crystals to grow. You can see some smaller crystals in here. So that's one way to look at and identify if it's an igneous rock or not, is that you look for crystals. If it cools really, really fast, you won't get crystals. So you can see here, there are no crystals. It kind of looks like glass. This is pretty cool. It's called obsidian. So igneous rocks come from I call them lava rocks, okay? Because they come from the cooling of lava on the Earth's surface. So here's a couple different kinds I've got all lined up here for you. Oh, stay there. This is granite, okay? This is a granite rock, okay? And it's got some crystal. There's the camera there. There we go. And it's got some crystals in there. I'm going to try to move it. You can see them shining a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty cool. A lot of people make countertops out of this granite stuff. They have different colors and everything like that, which is pretty cool. The next one is obsidian or obsidian. Okay, this one cooled very quickly. So there are not a lot of crystals in it. Okay, this is a cool one. Obsidian. I like this one. It's always nice and smooth and shiny. Very cool. Okay, this next one here, this is called pumice. Now, this is unusual. Okay, and I wish you could feel the weight of this. This feels like styrofoam. It's very light. You would never know. Just by looking at it, you would think it's a piece of concrete or something like that. It's got holes in it. There's very tiny crystals, okay? But it's actually very light. It feels like just holding a cotton ball, okay? Or piece of styrofoam. It's really cool. Whenever kids put it in their hands, they go, oh my goodness, it's so light. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a normal rock. And this last one is scoria. This is pretty cool. You can see the air holes in it. Okay. Again, cooled pretty quickly because there's not a lot of crystals in it. But again, these are different types of igneous rocks. So igneous rocks, again, come from the cooling and hardening of lava, okay, which is just liquid rock, okay? Remember, it's spinning around in the Earth's mantle. All right, that brings us to the next type of rock, which is a sedimentary rock. Now, sedimentary rocks come from broken pieces of sediment. We know that when rocks break, they become sediments. So what happens is sedimentary rocks fall down and they pile up on each other. Okay, and by piling up on each other over millions and millions of years, you can actually get these nice lines and nice lines. It almost acts as like a timeline. So maybe each line represents 100,000 years. Okay, so they fall down, and because they fall on top of each other, they press into each other. Now, most sedimentary rocks end up forming underwater because gravity and erosion. Remember, sedimentary rocks eventually find their way to the lowest spot they can, ocean base, a lake bottom, somewhere like that. Okay, and what happens is they cement or they fuse back together. Okay, so these little broken pieces of rock end up fusing back together. Okay, or cementing back together, which is pretty cool. Sometimes, if it's all the same, so this is a piece of sandstone. This is sandstone. It's kind of grainy. I can feel it, and it just kind of feels like sand. It feels like if you went to the beach and pressed all the sand together, try to make a sand ball instead of a snowball. That's kind of what it feels like. So this is sandstone. Pretty cool. There's the camera. I got to learn what the camera is. All right. This next one is called a conglomerate. Okay. A conglomerate means that there's lots of different kinds of little rocks and pebbles in it. Okay. The picture right here, this is a conglomerate rock here, sedimentary rock. You can see the different pieces, size, pebbles, and smaller sand grains in there. So this is a conglomerate, a little chaotic rock. And this one's really cool. This is called coquina. I like this one. This is a rock made out of shells. So you can see, all right, shells hardened and cemented together, okay, and it formed underneath the ocean. Almost kind of looks and feels like oatmeal. They're shells called coquina, different kind of sedimentary rock. It's pretty cool. I like them. So anyway, when the rocks break, they break into sediments. They fall down. They fall down because of gravity, and then as they pile up on each other, okay, the weight causes them to cement back together, and that's how we get larger sedimentary rocks, which is pretty cool. Then our last one we have, the third type of rock, is called a metamorphic rock. Now, a metamorphic rock is created when the other two types of rock, igneous or sedimentary, undergo immense amounts of heat and pressure, or both, and it actually changes what it is. So we up here we have a piece of gneiss, that's pronounced nice, not gneiss, that's nice. We have a piece of schist, okay, and a piece of marble. Marble is used in office buildings a lot. I've got some other types of metamorphic rock, okay. So these it's almost like baking a cake. Okay, if you take the other two types of rock and put it in the oven and turn the oven up a couple thousand degrees, which doesn't work in our kitchens, but maybe, and drop a mountain on it, then we get these types of rocks. So this is slate. You may have heard of slate before. Okay, this one's just a black piece of slate. This one's really cool. This is some nice. This is some nice. Okay, I'll spare you guys all my rock jokes for today. So this is the same kind of rock that's up on the screen. Piece of nice. It's very nice. And then here's marble. Okay, same as up on the screen. Here's a piece of marble. Marble comes in all different colors. It doesn't just have to be this pinkish kind of color or tan kind of color. All right. So again, metamorphic rocks form when the other two types of rock get hit with immense amounts of heat and pressure, or both, and they actually change into these new types of rock. They're like the transformers of the rocks, which is pretty cool. Now, I told you before that rocks can change back and forth into each other. Okay, and we're going to use something called a rock cycle chart. This is what's known as the rock cycle. Okay, it's a very easy chart to use. All right, igneous rocks can turn into metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rocks can turn into sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks can turn into igneous rocks. Sedimentary rocks can turn into metamorphic rocks. They can go back and forth to each other, and it's all based on how they form. So all we have to do is we have to follow the chart. Okay, so if I want to know if a sedimentary rock can turn into a metamorphic rock, what has to happen? So I start on sedimentary rock. I follow the arrow down. It says heat and or pressure turns this into a metamorphic rock. Okay, that was easy to figure out. All right. Now, what if I wanted to know how a metamorphic rock turns into an igneous rock? Well, let's just follow the arrows. What would happen to a metamorphic rock? Well, I'd follow the arrow down here. It would melt into magma. Okay, I know what magma is. So metamorphic rock would melt into magma, and then it would solidify into an igneous rock. Well, that makes sense because igneous rock comes from lava. All right, cool. Let's keep going around the outside. What if I want to know how an igneous rock turns into a sedimentary rock up here? Well, let's just follow the arrows because we want to go from here, igneous, over to sedimentary. I'll follow the arrow up. It tells me that weathering and erosion happen. I know what those are. Weathering is the breaking of rock. Erosion is the moving of it. That will break them into sediments. Okay, all right, I got that. Then they get buried. Okay, burial compaction, and they cement together to form sedimentary rock. Cool. All right. Well, what if I wanted to go backwards? An igneous rock turning into a metamorphic rock. Just follow the arrows. Igneous rock undergoes heat and pressure, and then forms into a metamorphic rock. Okay. Metamorphic rock back up to sedimentary. I can't go this way. There's no arrows pointing from metamorphic to sedimentary, so which way do I go? I follow this arrow here. Metamorphic rock has weathering and erosion. Okay, so it breaks apart and moves. When it breaks apart, it forms sediments. Sediments get buried on top of each other and cements back into a sedimentary rock. Okay, so you just use this chart, which will always be provided for you, and you can see how different rocks, sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous rocks, change back and forth into each other. Okay, this is the one that you'll see in your earth science reference table that you'll be able to use throughout your high school career. Here's another way to look at it, a little bit more colorful way. Okay, so we've got our sedimentary rocks. If they turn into metamorphic rocks, it goes into heat and pressure. Okay, if those melt into magma and then cool, it turns back into an igneous rock. If they break apart, then it turns into sediments, which compact into sedimentary rock, and so on and so on and so on. It's a never-ending cycle. Okay, so that is 3 types of rock: sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic rock. All change back and forth due to the rock cycle. And this is the one you're going to use more often. So this is the one I want you to practice with. Okay, have a good day.